The penthouse sat above the city like a throne made of glass. From the street, it looked untouchable. Wealth, power, success carved into steel and light. Inside, it was quiet in a way that hurt. Not peaceful, empty. Elena cross-faced the window, her wheelchair positioned just far enough back that her reflection stared at her alongside the skyline. The city moved. Cars flowed. People hurried somewhere important. Everything had momentum. Everything except her. Her legs rested beneath a cashmere blanket her father had imported from Italy. She couldn't feel its warmth, or the slight tremor in her knees when the elevator cables hummed beneath the floor. The doctors said that loss of sensation was expected. Elena hated that word. Expected meant accepted. The accident replayed itself when the room grew too still. Music, laughter, a flash of headlights, then nothing. 22 years old, a spinal injury at T9. Severe but stable, another phrase that sounded kinder than it was. Stable meant unchanged, permanent. Her father, Richard Cross, stood behind her now, pretending to check his phone while watching her reflection instead. The man who negotiated billion-dollar mergers couldn't find words for his own daughter. He had bought hope the only way he knew how. Surgeons from Switzerland, experimental trials, machines that promised miracles in fine print. Each failure hollowed the apartment further. Elena used to dance here. Barefoot on marble floors, music echoing off the walls. Now the space felt too big, too loud with memories. Fresh air, her nurse finally said gently, breaking the silence. Just a little. Elena didn't argue. She let herself be wheeled down, past polished hallways and polite staff who smiled too carefully. The building's community garden smelled of soil and rain. Real things. That's when she saw him. A man crouched by the flower beds, sleeves rolled up, hands deep in the dirt. Beside him stood a small boy, no older than 6, clutching a toy truck with a missing wheel. The man listened intently as the child explained the problem like it was life or death. Okay, the man said seriously. Then we fix it. He didn't rush, didn't check a phone. He stayed. Something twisted in Elena's chest. Not jealousy, recognition, a life still moving forward. When the boy ran ahead, the man glanced up and met her eyes. Not her chair, not her legs, her eyes. Beautiful day, he said, like it was simply a fact. Elena stayed silent. She had learned silence was safer. As he passed, he slowed, leaned closer, voice quiet enough to feel like a secret. I don't know your story, he whispered, but if you've given up, maybe let me help you carry it. Then he walked away. Elena stared at the garden long after he was gone, heart pounding. For the first time since the accident, the silence didn't feel absolute. It had cracked. They didn't speak again that day, or the next, but somehow, Daniel became part of Elena's routine. Every afternoon around 4, the garden filled with the same sounds, sprinklers ticking, distant traffic, and a child's uneven laughter. Daniel's son, Noah, pushed his toy truck through the gravel paths like he was mapping the world. Daniel followed, unhurried, like time bent around him. Elena told herself she didn't care. Yet she always angled her chair so she could see them. Daniel never stared. That mattered. People usually did. Quick glances they thought she didn't notice, eyes dropping to her legs before scrambling back up in guilt. Daniel looked at her the way people look at weather or music, present, unforced. One afternoon, her nurse received a call and stepped away. As if on cue, the breeze picked up. Elena's glove slipped from her lap and landed just out of reach. She stared at it, heat creeping into her face. Small losses felt enormous now. Before she could call for help, Daniel crossed the path. He picked up the glove and paused, holding it like it was something fragile. Is this okay? He asked, gesturing before touching her hand. She nodded. He set it back gently, making sure her fingers were warm inside. Then he stepped away like nothing momentous had happened. Thank you, she said quietly, surprised by her own voice. He smiled. You're welcome. The next day, she spoke first. You work here. Maintenance. Contractor. Technically, he replied. I fix what breaks. Or try to. She almost laughed. Almost. I used to dance, she said suddenly, not knowing why. He didn't say I'm sorry. He didn't say that's awful. He just nodded. I used to plan my life with someone else. That got her attention. Days passed. Conversations grew longer. She told him about the accident in pieces, never all at once. He never pushed. When she stopped, he let the silence sit without rushing to fill it. One afternoon, frustration took over. Her hands shook as she tried to adjust her blanket. Daniel noticed. "May I help?" he asked. She hesitated, then nodded. He knelt beside her chair, pulling a simple resistance band from his backpack. "Nothing heroic," he said. "Just a place to start. My father's doctors have machines worth more than your car," she said flatly. Daniel shrugged. "Still doesn't mean they know where you feel strong." He guided her fingers, slow and respectful. "Right here," he said softly. For the first time in months, Elena wasn't being treated. She was being seen, and somewhere deep inside her, something long asleep shifted. Quiet, uncertain, but awake. Progress didn't arrive like a miracle. It crept in, slow and uneven, disguised as routine. Every afternoon, Daniel met Elena in the small therapy room off the garden. No cameras, no specialists, just a mat, a chair, and exercises so basic they felt insulting. Grip strength, breathing control, micro movements that left her exhausted. Some days she improved, most days, she didn't. Failure had a sound. Tight breaths, clenched teeth, the quiet scrape of her chair as she turned away so Daniel wouldn't see her face. He always pretended not to notice, giving her dignity where others gave pity. One evening, rain trapped them inside. The windows blurred with water, the city reduced to smears of light. Elena's hands shook violently as she tried to lift the resistance band. It slipped, hit the floor. Something inside her snapped. "This is stupid," she shouted, sweeping the band away with her arm. "You think this changes anything? I'm broken. Completely. Permanently." Daniel didn't move. He stayed seated on the floor, back against the wall, like he'd been expecting this moment. "I can't feel half my body," she continued, voice cracking. "I can't sleep. I can't dream without waking up angry. Everyone keeps pretending I should be grateful to be alive." Her breath hitched. "I wish I hadn't survived." The words hung there, sharp, dangerous. Daniel slowly slid down until he was sitting in front of her, eyes level. "No shock. No lectures. My wife said the same thing," he said quietly. Elena froze. "She was in the hospital for 3 weeks," he continued. "Cancer. Aggressive. By the end, hope hurt more than the truth." He swallowed. "She didn't make it. I walked out with our son in a silence so loud I thought it would kill me." Elena's anger dissolved into something heavier. "I don't believe in fixing people," Daniel said. "I believe in staying. In doing the next hard thing even when it doesn't pay off." Tears streamed down her face, unguarded now. She didn't wipe them away. "I'm so tired," she whispered. "I know," he replied. "That doesn't mean you stop." Weeks later, during a routine session, Elena felt it, a faint spark. Barely there. Her foot twitched. She gasped. "Did you see that?" Daniel's breath caught. "I did." The doctor later called it a reflex. "Accidental. Insignificant." Daniel looked at Elena and said, "Beginnings usually are." Across the room, watching through the glass, Richard Cross saw something he couldn't buy. His daughter wasn't healed. She was fighting. And hope, dangerous, fragile hope, had come back anyway. The room smelled like antiseptic and old sweat. Elena hated it, but she knew the smell was a reminder. She was still alive, still fighting, still real. Daniel arrived as usual, backpack slung over his shoulder, Noah trailing behind him like a little shadow. The boy had started bringing snacks, granola bars, fruit, sometimes a toy for Elena to hold. It was small, but it meant the world. Elena sat in her chair, eyes fixed on the floor. "You okay?" Daniel asked softly. Elena didn't answer. She just nodded once, like a soldier preparing for a battle she didn't want to fight. Daniel set the resistance band down, then pulled out a folded piece of paper from his pocket. "What's that?" she asked. "A promise," he said. "Not from me, from you." Elena frowned. "I didn't sign anything." Daniel smiled gently. "You did. You signed it with your eyes when you first agreed to try." Elena looked away. "I don't know if I can do this anymore." Daniel sat beside her, not touching her, but close enough that his presence felt like a hand on her shoulder. "Then we do it differently," he said. No pressure, no expectations, just one step. The phrase hit her harder than she expected. One step, that was all she needed. Not a full life, not a full recovery, just one step. Daniel helped her to the edge of the mat. Alina's heart hammered so hard she thought it would explode. Her body trembled with fear and anger. Her father stood at the glass wall, watching. Richard Cross had spent years controlling every outcome in his life. He didn't know how to watch someone else's suffering without trying to fix it. He watched his daughter now and realized that his money could buy surgeons, machines, and medicine, but not the one thing she needed most. Elena placed her hands on the mat, gripping it tightly. Daniel positioned her legs carefully. Ready? He asked. Elena swallowed. No. Daniel nodded, like he understood. Then we begin. He counted softly. 1, 2, 3. Elena pushed. Her legs trembled, then held. Her body shook with the effort. Her breath came in sharp bursts. The room went silent. For a moment, she was just standing. Just standing. Not walking. Not dancing. Not running. Just standing. Then, slowly, as if her body had forgotten the idea of balance, she shifted her weight forward. Her foot moved. It was tiny. Barely an inch. But it was real. Daniel's eyes widened, and his voice caught. Again, he whispered. Elena tried again. Her foot moved another inch. Then another. The tears came, uncontrollable. Not from pain. From disbelief. From something like joy. Dangerous, bright, impossible. Richard Cross rushed in without knocking, as if the room was a battlefield and his daughter was the war. He saw her standing and stopped dead, unable to breathe. Alina's face was wet, her lips trembling. She looked at her father. I did it, she whispered. Richard's eyes filled with tears. He couldn't speak. Daniel stepped back, letting the moment belong to Elena. No, Daniel said softly, you're doing it. And in that moment, the penthouse didn't feel like a tomb anymore. It felt like a home.